So if you're training Jeet Kune Do at home, one of the questions you may have are, what are the best type of gloves for me to work on and train at home or with a partner? So we're going to break down and give you some ideas of some of the kind of gloves that you may or may not want to utilize. So the first one I want to start with here is just your basic boxing gloves. These are, so for example, the ones I have on the wall here are Fairtex. These are 16-ounce boxing gloves, which typically are what you're going to utilize when you're sparring. For the most part, in most places, even though it can vary based off your weight. So if you're a smaller person, you may do 14 or 12 ounce, but for the most part, 16 ounces are kind of the standard, generally speaking. So 16-ounce gloves are good for sparring. And so I'm going to just demonstrate. These are actually 18-ounce gloves, but they're very, very similar in terms of the structure and the layout. The thing with boxing gloves you want to be mindful of is the placement of the thumb. So boxing gloves will place the thumb more on the side of the hand here, okay? So you can never really make a true fist as far as closing your thumb over your knuckles here. It's really can't do that with a boxing glove. So be mindful of that. If you're training with a boxing glove and you go to defend yourself in real life, you may be used to not closing your fist. And I find this a lot with students because they're used to training with gloves on, they punch with their thumb out. So be mindful that you're not doing that. Because it can train that habit, which is not obviously good. You can break your thumb that way or you know, get other injuries. And so, but these are good because what's nice about them is that they do keep your fist closed, which it can be both good and bad, okay? It keeps your fist closed, so you really aren't able to open your hand very well, okay? So when it comes to JKD and we want to pock or we want to trap or we want to grab, you're really not able to do that really well at all with these kind of gloves. So any kind of boxing glove or most of your Muay Thai gloves, you really can't open the hand, open the palms to kind of pock or lop or trap or anything like that. You can kind of try to, but it's very, very difficult. The gloves are big, it's hard to get your hand through, all those kind of things. For safety purposes, it's nice to have the hands closed because you don't have to worry about injuring yourself for the most part on the bag when you're hitting it because it's going to force your hand to stay closed. But again, it's something to be mindful of because even when you hit the bag, you still need to tighten your fist even when you hit the bag. Don't just get used to the safety of the glove because in Jeet Kune Do, we train for reality-based self-defense. So you're not going to have gloves on in a real situation. So those are your basic boxing gloves. I use the boxing gloves, you know, sometimes on the heavy bag, you can do that. Obviously still wrap your hands and those kind of things. I typically like a lighter glove on the bag. So they do have bag gloves specifically made to utilize on the bag and they look something like this. They're just kind of lightweight gloves. These are from Max MMA. But there's other brands out there as well. But these are nice. What's nice about these is that they do allow you to open and close your hand, right? And you can still make a fist here, so you can wrap your thumb around the glove here. What's nice about these as a bag glove is that these are nice and lightweight here. These are, you know, very lightweight gloves. So it allows you to be able to punch pretty freely here. Be able to punch pretty freely and let your hands go and also feel the impact of the bag. And that's kind of what I want you to feel, the impact of your punch. So you know exactly how you're hitting and how that feels to hit something. When you have the bigger, fluffier, I say fluffier, but the bigger, more padded gloves on, it's much more squishy when you're hitting and it doesn't feel like as much of a solid shot. So I do prefer the smaller gloves on the bag. Again, utilize hand wraps, help protect your wrists, but understand in a real situation, you're not gonna have hand wraps or things like that. But these are good for just all around bag gloves, okay? Next here that I've got, I got these from my dear friend and brother, Reggie Barnett Jr., former BKFC bantamweight champ. These are, they're kind of like MMA gloves, right? And you know, you can use MMA gloves. These are, you know, very little padding on the top here, but they do have, they are more of a glove, right? They are more of a glove. So, but they've got the padding here on the knuckles, which is nice. And allows you to be able to, you know, punch and those kind of things. Again, same thing, I can still close my hand, close my fist here and make a fist. So most of your MMA gloves are gonna be kind of like this. And so you can use MMA gloves if you want for striking and things like that. I do advise against, and the reason, you know, I do advise against utilizing MMA gloves for sparring, and they do make some more padded MMA gloves which have more padding on the glove with the hands and fingers free. But because the hands and fingers are free, it's very easy to break your finger or damage your finger or anything like that, which I have done before utilizing MMA gloves in sparring. And so I tend not to use those anymore. And I've had students also jam their fingers and hurt their fingers with MMA gloves and utilizing those for sparring. So I don't recommend those for sparring. I know you want to train how you fight. However, you also want to train safely. And so I do recommend something that has a little more padding and protection for the fingers. All right, next gloves that I have here are, so I got these here. These are from Modest Vintage Player, which I bought these because I was looking for a boxing glove that could protect the fingers, but I was looking for something that was more open in the palm here to allow for the pak sao or lop sao or things like that. So this glove does allow you to be able to close. This is the kind of the vintage old school boxing glove, right? So it is an open glove. It's an open palm, so you can kind of catch, you can parry, you can pak, you can lop, and those kind of things, right? Even though grabbing is kind of hard, it's very difficult to do that. But it does have open palm, which I kind of like. The problem with these gloves, and you really can't do hard sparring with these, is that when I close the glove, at least how it feels for me, it doesn't feel like a traditional boxing glove. When I close the glove, I feel my fingers on my palm, and this is not practical for punching. So I feel this. So if I actually hit hard, I'm going to very easily I'm going to break my knuckles here, break my fingers here, just punching, because my fingers are pressed against my palm here. Unlike a regular boxing glove, my fingers are inward, okay? So when I punch, there's some support there, but this glove, when I close, it doesn't allow me to close and make a proper fist. So I don't like this glove really for bag work. If you're doing really light sparring, it's fine. It should be okay because you're just hitting with the pad, but you really can't hit hard with this glove, in my opinion, because of how it places. You can't really you can't make a proper fist with this glove, okay? So I don't recommend these for hard hitting or sparring or anything like that, but you can utilize those. Now, last one I have here, these are kind of the old school, right? These are kind of like the kendo gloves here. You know, Bruce Lee kind of used these in Enter the Dragon. I have found these very useful. I do like these gloves. I like them because they do protect the fingers. They do allow your fingers and hands to move a little bit more. So I do like that aspect. You can grab and you can pop, you can lop, you can do all the things that you normally would do, but it protects the hands, and there's a little bit more padding here. So this is not bad. We do utilize these a little bit for some light sparring. And so we do use these gloves for light sparring, and they're very handy for that. You can use them on the bag as well if you want. I don't do a lot of heavy bag work with these, to be honest with you. I just prefer to use them for sparring, and I want to protect the glove and ensure the longevity of the glove. And so I don't use these typically for extended heavy bag work. I may use the bag gloves or regular boxing gloves for that. I do use the 18-ounce gloves. So I want something a little bit heavier just to get my arms, get more of a workout. So I may use heavier gloves for those. So what's the best glove for Jeet Kune Do? It just depends on what you're doing. You have bag gloves. You have, if you're doing basic boxing, utilize all the above. I'd say, kind of utilize everything. Certainly boxing gloves to kind of train your boxing, train your hands without the ability to kind of use your trapping and things like that. I do like the kendo gloves as well. Those are good when you are starting to incorporate your trapping, your pocking, your all those kind of things are great. And then of course you have gloves you can use strictly just on the heavy bag. So 3 types of gloves are good, okay? Whatever you can utilize to learn your pocking, trapping, grappling, all those kind of things are good. Your boxing gloves, again, just to work those crisp, nice punches. And then of course, just something to work on the bag. So try 3 variations of gloves, and that'll keep you a little bit more well-rounded. But start with one in the beginning, whatever you happen to have, and then try to incorporate more as you go along. So hope that helps you guys. Just want to give you a breakdown, a little bit of some things to think about in terms of your equipment, your training, and things you may want to invest in the future as you continue your Jeet Kune Do journey. Please subscribe to our channel and check out our next video.